There's not just one way to solve a problem at Blue Chip. We plan, build, and test until we find the most effective solution.
We strive to make ourselves and our clients more successful. We are driven to be the best.
We are driven to compete.
We are driven to partner.
We are driven to collaborate.
We are driven to deliver.
Thank you, Kelly, for that great introduction. I'm very excited to be here with you today to talk about legal analytics. I know that many of you may be asking the question, how did a law firm get invited to the Business Analytics Innovation Summit? Largely because we are notorious for being slow to adopt technology. Certainly, I think that it's a very prevalent discussion right now. Does technology come at a cost? And it does, whether it's losing a competitive advantage or running your operation inefficiently, those are things that we have to address today. So if we examine at a deeper level, I think that you'll find that lawyers reside in a very highly regulated industry, and they're bound by ethical rules and obligations. Tolerance for tech is low if it's impractical, it's unreliable, or it doesn't enhance their productivity. So while setting the bar pretty high, I'll tell you that lawyers are willing to invest time, and it certainly is our experience for them to invest time and energy into making advancements in technology. At Baker Hostetler, we started about 3 years ago a group called Incubator, and it really is there to help lawyers navigate this intersection of digital business, emerging technology, and the law. We funded a dedicated team of legal professionals and technologists that are helping to research and bring in capabilities around data analytics, natural language processing, machine learning, and blockchain. So we started this journey, and pretty immediately a question arose, and that was, can we build a data-driven law firm? Certainly, it has great potential for us, right? It can be a game changer from our competition, but foundationally, we invested in this because we knew our clients were going to expect it. They want us and the expertise that's filled in our law firm to also be backed by data. And so I will tell you that most of the legal industry is in the nascent form, powerful it can be. We're also reflecting quickly on the biggest asset in our law firm, and that really is our people. Harvesting knowledge from our expertise of our attorneys and our workforce is a critical component of my job, and would attest that that is why there are directors like myself at major law firms around the globe. We face significant data challenges, so I want to kind of illustrate that as we get started here. This illustration is going to show you that the legal industry is facing what I would conceptually call a big text problem. Remember, professional services like legal industry is faced with this, where your knowledge workers host all of that information. Harvesting that is very difficult to do because it's in the byproduct of what they're creating, whether that would be a PDF, a Word document, or the like. I would say 80% of the data that we're faced with is unstructured, where 20% might be structured. So very different from a retail organization that would have high amounts of transactional data. Ours is really, I think, a significant issue in trying to harvest the information out of those unstructured forms of information. And just to highlight that, that is memos, judicial opinions, statutes, narratives. And for those not in the legal industry, narratives are what we use for time and material, writing down every 6/10 of an hour what work we're doing. So there's a lot of valuable data inside of that. And the goal is for our data program really to harness the power of that unstructured data. So how did we develop a strategic plan, and what was the strategic plan? First, it is making sure that data is an asset. I've already spoke about our workforce being a significant player and being an asset to the overall organization, but data has to as well. But to do that, we know that we're going to have to take time and energy to create and identify data. So the identification of it is really mining through all of that unstructured information, but we know that we're going to have to create some data because it lives in the minds or the heads of our experts. So we'll talk a little bit about how we're trying to attempt to do that. There are such great benefits like identifying market trends ahead of our competition, but there's a really good benefit of just understanding ourselves a lot better and operationally what expertise we have around the business. We also want to tackle operational inefficiency. So our strategic plan, making data an asset, creating and identifying it for these valuable reasons kind of lead us into the vision. The vision is to create a panoramic view of the business where virtually all roles inside the organization could have data at their fingertips to help explore and analyze and make better decisions and outcomes. This is our data-driven framework. So this is something that I speak about a lot because it's meaningful to us, and it shows kind of our build kind of from foundation of embracing data analytics and the ingestion of external data resources, as well as understanding what resources are available through our own systems of record. And quite honestly, we started out doing that with a company called Blue Line Associates, where we did a data flow assessment so we can understand what data we have, but most importantly, what are we missing and what external providers are going to help us move forward and making a more comprehensive view, which you'll see here in a second. As we move up the pyramid, we are focused on ingestion. How do we standardize, normalize, or unify this data across all of these disparate resources that are available to us internally and externally? The third layer, I think, is probably the most exciting in the sense that we are creating a pool of raw data where we can have our citizen data scientists that work at Baker explore information and help us identify patterns that to a human eye we just may not see. As you get into the second and first layer of the pyramid, this is where we're really starting to expose this information back to the business. And we're giving them the opportunity through data visualizations to view it and to analyze it. And then at the very top is to share not only inside of our organization, but to share externally with our clients and helping to produce and enhance the legal services that Baker Hostetler offers. I will say, and just take a moment, one partner that has been with us from the very beginning has been Blue Chip. They have helped us create, they understood our idea, maybe not the law, and that's okay, but we have helped them understand what issues that we face, and they have helped us build an end-to-end business intelligence solution that's fully implemented within our Microsoft Azure environment. And this is the image of a logical architecture of the data flow that's going through this solution. One thing I'll just point out here, we certainly have the kind of the ingest and then the transformation and ability to share, as you can see from left to right. I think critically, it is important for us to think about what solutions that we're ingesting. That takes a lot of our time to understand, even just the legal data sources that are available. But we're able to ingest those through Data Factory and Logic apps, pull those into the data lake where we're storing them, and then transform them. One example I like to give often is the transformation in multiple court docketing systems. Baker Hostetler spelled over 100 different ways. That helps explain some of the disparate resources, trying to unify those. That's not only for Baker Hostetler, but we see that for our clients as well. And really getting that to a point where we have the ability to, again, remember that data-driven framework, share that with the business, share that with our clients. To get to this point, we had to make a decision. We wanted to own and control the ETL process, largely because the data analytics market is changing And we don't know what we don't know. 5 years from now, there could be a new data visualization provider that is the hottest trend on the market. And owning our own ETL process gives us that ability to kind of pick and choose how we're going to visualize and share that with the business. So I thought that might be helpful to share with you today. But let's get into how we are leveraging these advanced analytics, which I think are very, very important. Certainly, we are trying to create a real-time, actionable, and comprehensive view of data. We look at this in a variety of ways. Near real time, we want something that's programmatically, systematically updating so that our people aren't dealing with those issues and that our attorneys have the most recent information that we can get to them in a timely manner. We want this information to be actionable. We say that all the time, but what does that mean? We want to be able to identify trends that are happening. I should probably sidestep here and say that we started, looking at our whole operation, but out of the legal services that we have, we started to focus on litigation. And litigation is pretty significant to us because it's one of our largest practice groups. And so in this context, we wanted to be able to identify litigation trends. So we wanted to be able to understand if a client was looking to adopt acquire, let's say, another company, how would that impact their litigation portfolio? And so we want to be able to show them that, their current litigation portfolio looks like X, the new litigation portfolio is going to look like Y. Combined, you're either going to see an increase or a decrease, right? Helping clients make decisions in ways that, obviously we want to help them through litigation, but our transactional space is fairly significant as well, when we think we can do that with some of this information. Last, I just want to speak real quick about comprehensiveness. I have a mantra that, we want to build a mountain of data at Baker Hostetler, and largely because in the legal industry specifically, there isn't one third-party provider that can provide all of the information that we need from the various courts. Why is that? There's over 13,000 state courts, and there's nearly 100 federal courts. And you can imagine each one of them may have similar information, but they classify it differently, and not all of them are even electronic. So we have a lot of work to do inside of the comprehensiveness, but really isn't a law firm quite situated almost perfectly to collect that information from all of those different courts and from all the third-party providers that fit into that puzzle and marry it with our own internal information. So comprehensiveness is really, really valuable, and it's difficult to obtain in the legal industry, and I think it quite squarely sits on the shoulders of the law firms to be able to collect that, combine it in a data-driven way. So let's get into a couple of examples. This first example is looking at Baker Hostetler experience. You can imagine that a major law firm like Baker Hostetler, we have 16 offices around the United States. However, we don't have an office in every jurisdiction. Our attorneys continue to practice across state boundaries, and we need a centralized way to help our clients understand what our expertise is. So for example, we don't have an office in Tennessee, but do we litigate in Tennessee? All the time. So we need to have a way to be able to illustrate that if a client is exposed to litigation in the Middle District of Tennessee, we have representative experience there. So this graphic is trying to demonstrate to you the different ways that we are showing even our representation across California. But do we have an office in every city? No. But up and down the state, it shows a representative kind of heat map of different expertise by different counties. Next, what I would say is just kind of running through a scenario. It's often that we are managing alerts through our team to understand when a client has had a suit filed against them. So at an opportunity when we see a client that is being exposed to a lawsuit in Gwinnett County, we can immediately take our expertise locator, much like what you just saw there, and we can look up by jurisdiction who has expertise in that county. Quickly, we can tell in Gwinnett County that we have an expert that we've litigated there, and Mark Johnson has done that litigation for us. This type of information has been extremely helpful for us to identify expertise and quickly deploy that litigator to the task at hand. Next, I wanted to illustrate just our critical metrics and what I call a composite view. We have a fairly significant strategic plan laid out by our chairman that address many issues. So we are trying to look at how critical metrics and data-driven dashboards like this can help effectuate those strategic plans. One of them is focused on diversity and inclusion. And do we have enough talent diversity across any one matter? By being able to tap into not only those litigation data sets that I was talking about, but also to our HR systems, we can help bring greater visibility to that. We feel that a greater diverse and talented team is going to provide better outcomes. Now we have the data to be able to show and demonstrate whether we've met that mark or not and how we can remedy it. Next, I wanted to just show you how we are integrating these solutions into plans that are already at play at Baker Hostetler. So we have what we call client portals, where we're starting to bring all of that work product I talked about, your memos and PDFs of filings to bear, but we wanted to be able to deposit this more proprietary look at litigation by docket dashboards, including those inside of our client portals, and then also having a client dashboard, basically a client litigation dashboard, so they could see the breadth of all of their litigation, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But I think by combining this information, it isn't just a dashboard, but it's being wrapped around critically important information and allowing us to collaborate better internally as a firm and externally with clients is the most important aspect of being able to integrate this in other forms. This is the client dashboard I wanted to share with you today. It really is, again, kind of what we talked about. We want it to be actionable, show different trends. We want it to be comprehensive. So at any one time, we may, as a team, be working with a client that an energy company, for example, that has 87 subsidiaries. We need to be able to ingest the information from the different courts and present it in such a way that they can see the highest level view of their litigation portfolio, but also be able to drill down and see kind of where litigation is rising. And again, opportunistically look at, if we were going to acquire a company, how does that change our litigation portfolio as well? Because we know litigation definitely is not cheap, and that's a way we can help our clients proactively mitigate risk. Last but not least, this may mean nothing to everyone on the call if you're not in the legal industry, but for litigators, this is almost a digital map of a litigation, and it is a reverse chronological order of entries. So whether you have a complaint or opposing briefs that are coming in or judge orders, this gives you kind of the table of contents of that case. What I really felt compelled by was, not only do we want to capture this data and present it in a way that is timely and that is automatically updating, but we also want to be able to move the information into kind of a consolidated view. Today, our attorneys get notifications by email. They get PDFs by email of each one of these entries. It is hard to work in Outlook sorting through this information. And so if you want to create data that's more collaborative and we can start to look at for early case strategy information, it's best to compile this information into a centralized vantage point. So here is the docket and the docket entries. But what we've done recently is now we're starting to pull in that highly unstructured information, and we are pulling in all of the underlying documents And we're pulling those into our client portals and we're making those searchable. And the big, so what here is that now we have this really at accessible quite quickly. We can mine through information. It can help us set early case strategy and obviously even in the middle of a trial, be able to maneuver and make decisions quickly by even just simply moving this information into a centralized way and keeping it near real time, keeping it actionable, and keeping it comprehensive. So hopefully that is a good example of where we as Baker Hostetler have been on our data analytics journey. And I think now we want to segue into maybe some questions and answers that you have for us. This is a quest that we have. We know because we understand, I'm a lawyer. Many of the legal professionals on this team are lawyers. We understand what information is most critical. For example, complaint, number one document in a litigation, and inside of there are allegations. And there's really great companies that are helping to mine that information and get it into a structured form, because nowhere in a structured court docket are you ever going to find allegations. So it is really experience working with our attorneys and working with partners to try to figure out exactly what's critical in those documents. But we try to do a lot of that up front so we know exactly where the road's going to lead.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Susan, but first, can you just tell us what are you currently using for your visualizations? Is it Tableau or is it some other package?
We are using Power BI largely because we need to be frugal in our expedition, especially now. Even though we started this 3 years ago, Power BI is available through our E5 license with Microsoft. Remember that kind of panoramic view of the business, wanting to give everyone access. It was an easy tool for us to be able to utilize and deploy, but we're not wedded to it. And so over time, if we feel like we find a better one or more cost effective, for whatever reason, we've built the infrastructure to be able to be nimble in that way.
Okay, great. Susan Lowry.
Thanks, Bill. Susan Lowry, no relation to Katherine Lowry, but we share the same last name. So great presentation today. I heard you talk about some of the different initiatives that you were trying to tackle with this this project, and you mentioned business development and operational efficiencies, maybe revenue per attorney. What was the biggest benefit that you saw that maybe you anticipated or didn't anticipate? Was there something that kind of bubbled up that you're like, wow, this is great?
Well, a couple of things. One, testament to our people and the number of teams that came together. We didn't really know when we started this project how many teams across our organization would have to be tapped for that. But from kind of a, data-driven, what did we find that was a big benefit? It really was the ability to share with clients kind of that larger view of their litigation portfolio and keep it in such a comprehensive way. Tons of vendors that are great allies to us today, but they don't have the entire picture. And the ability to have control over that picture and classification and as many data sets that we need to show that comprehensive view, we think that was a game changer for us, being able to converse with our clients in that way and have led us to really great partnerships with clients because of that.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.